Hi, this is Doctor Who exactly, which is exactly what it says on the tin, and I can't see Jack through that wig. We're talking about Series 12, Episode 9, Ascension of the Cybermen, and I know, on the whole, I've been very positive about this series, and apparently people on the internet don't like it, which is a shock. And, well, I can see where they're coming from, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, like, build-up, when it comes to build-up, when it comes to cliffhanger episodes, Stephen Moffat seems to have a better track record than what Chris Chibnall has done so far. Like, the two-parters we've seen, this series Spyfall Part 1 and 2, and, you know, the Ascension of the Cybermen going into the Timeless Children. The first one was quite effective, and it, you know, it literally made me go bung, but it's difficult to muck that one up. It's like, it's the master all along, woo ha ha ha. Well, yeah, but then Ascension of the Cybermen plays into a lot of what the heckery, like, and I personally, some of these worked for me, and I can see why they wouldn't work for others. I'm being completely honest here. Like, right, let's start at the beginning instead of going at the end. Ascension of the Cybermen basically sees the Doctor and Jazz and Ryan and Graham finding the last bastion of humankind, which is 7 people in a couple of sheds. Right, the great cyber empire has been defeated. Right, but then the Cybermen show up anyway, because Ashad had come from the past and he'd, you know, brought 2. This is not that impressive when you're like 3 Cybermen hunting down 7 humans. Plus, there's like 3 Cybermen arriving in 2 ships. Yeah, okay. What it did feel very well to me, what I got the vibes of, is that it felt very war-torn and everybody was like properly traumatized by the events. It felt like a wartime movie set in sci-fi land, if you catch my drift. And for me, it worked. Frisco, for instance, not talking much or at all because of his past events. Yeah, that's like, okay, yeah. To me, it worked. But in the end, it's still just 3 Cybermen. I did personally like how the Doctor has been quite snippy with the companions in this episode. And it's something that I feel like has been building, but they have not shown very well before this episode itself. They were talking about how the Doctor was moody, how she's been going to Gallifrey all this time, and how that probably upsets her mood a little bit. But here we get a proper, like, I know. You know, kind of like that. Graham and Yaz ending up on this makeshift escape pod. That's very claustrophobic. That's good stuff for me. Then they end up on a huge carrier ship, and the moment you hear these thuds against the outside, bells should have been ringing like, yeah, obviously they're gonna be Cybermen bits. And then when there's Cybermen bits, there's gonna be Cybermen ships. When there's Cybermen ships, there's obviously leading into a whole bunch of them just being around there in stasis. Because that's the main thing of the Cybermen after, you know, being robots, except human beings, converting human beings. The third one is always like, yeah, we just happen to have a bunch of them off screen, and we're just gonna flip the switch and they're all gonna wake up now. They've done it before in Tombs of the Cybermen, all the way back in the black and white serials. They've done it in Earthshock. They've done it in Attack of the Cybermen. They've done it, the one of the new series. One of the new series must have done it, obviously. So, yeah, it's just this. If you didn't see that one coming, I don't know what to tell you, son. The Doctor and Ryan being stuck with the third character, whose name I don't remember. Again, they hammer home the point that it's like, okay, he knows how to rig ships and fly cyber ships because he's been doing this since he was 4. So he's been a wartime child. And then we get a little talk with Ashard, and the Doctor managed to pick him apart and be like, haha, you're a contradiction in terms. And I'm happy that they don't ignore this, and I'm happy that they address this. It's just that it started to nag me, like, yeah, but okay, so he's doing this willingly, but he's the boss, and why is the Cyberium? What is the Cyberium? Because it's supposed to be an AI with all kinds of information, and then it's just a MacGuffin, and then they nebulously talk about it. It's all a bunch of vagueness for the intents and purposes of sounding vague and ominous. Yeah, okay. Right, so then we get to Koshar something. Chris Chibnall really loves his K sounds in his alien names, doesn't he? Right, so this bit is like, it's a planet, it's a single dude, his name is Koshar something, Koshamus, and he's been helping people across this boundary. And the boundary is just a big gate, and it's a pretty cool gate, but the moment they showed Gallifrey, I personally legit went like, what? And my brother can attest to this. If any of you know any of my brothers and then can surmise which one I saw this episode with, please tag them on the Twitters and tell them, did he really go what? Don't do that. And then the Master pops out, and that's a bit like, it feels like an afterthought after the big reveal, you know, like, obviously he was going to come back, and obviously it was going to be somewhere soon, so him being back in the series finale, yeah, makes sense. So there's your cliffhanger. A big portal out of nowhere, and Gallifrey, which we all had set up in the past, but, you know, in the context of this episode, came out of left field. Yeah. This episode has been just mostly to get from point A to point B, while using some imagery of a war-torn future. And it did bits for me, and it did not do bits for me, right? So while it worked for me, I can easily see how somebody says, like, it's filler. It's just, you know, the obvious part 1 in a part 2, despite that we had a part 1 and a part 2 in this series itself. I understand you. And the other bit of the cliffhanger is that, oh wow, all these Cybermen and the rest of these people, they're gonna die. Sure, that's the thing that's gonna happen. But I haven't talked about the best bit yet. This episode actually revolves around Brendan, an Irish man, or an Irish boy, or an Irish lad, or an Irish baby, who was born in Ireland, except it doesn't actually say he's from Ireland, despite the fact that Chris Chibnall really loves putting names and places on things. Like when they were in Aleppo, it went like, Aleppo! But now he's in Ireland, but they don't tell us that he's in Ireland. But they all speak Irish, and he wants to be part of the Garda, which is like the police in Ireland. So Brendan grows up, does things, falls off a cliff, dies, doesn't die. And then he retires, and then his dad and his police chief are still the same age as the day he enlisted. And then he gets put into this contraption, which seems like vaguely, you know, Cybermanish or Time Lordish, because there was a clock, and when the 10th Doctor used the Chameleon Arch, he also had this weird circlet on his brain. This is the driving mystery of this episode, and I love not knowing what on earth is going on. I'm like, what is this got to do with anything? What? Explain to me. I love not knowing, and I love the mystery it's set up for the next episode. This worked a lot better for me than, you know, a great big ship of Cybermen. I wonder what's going to happen to those. Oh, they woke up, did they? I did not see that coming. And then Brendan is like, Brendan, you're retiring. Oh, that's so sad, Brendan, my Irish lad. And now, please step into the back office with our unaged parental figures that will remove everything from you. Yeah, so on the whole, I quite like this episode, but it has obvious flaws. What I mostly hope out of this is that the follow-up, The Timeless Children, even though I thought it was just a one, is gonna stick the landing. So my enjoyment of this specific episode hinges a lot on how the next one is gonna end up. So, yeah. Let me know what you think in the comments below, or not. You know, algorithms, don't listen to them. Fight the power, eat the rich, vote. Wash your hands. For Pete's sake, wash your hands. That's still like the number one way to keep germs and viruses at bay. Washing your dang hands. Bye!
Loving the coastline.
Chokes!